home leg next week. Rafael Sobis has been withdrawn for the second half. He's been replaced by Nicolas Blandi, his third season as a senior. Made his debut midway through the Apertura League winning campaign. A 22-year-old and another talented youngster makes his way up. Thiago Carletto also coming on for this second half, and he is a left back. And Fluminense really need one. So Nicolas Blandi is on for Christian Erbes for this second half. Thiago Carletto on for Fluminense as both sides decide to make some reshuffling in the second half. But for Abel Braga, the Fluminense coach, it was very much forced following the dismissal of his left back Carlinhos. Level on goals, but not in men. Boca with the man advantage following the dismissal of Carlinhos. And in the final 12 minutes of the first half, they pushed, they probed, they came close many times. But Diego Cavalieri kept pushing them aside. That's a super ball forward towards Thiago Neves as Fluminense have come out right from the gun at the start of this second half. Neves was sent off in that Olympic semi-final against Argentina at the wonderfully remarkable Workers Stadium in the south end of Beijing City 4 years ago. And Neves went too late. Christian Erbes, 22-year-old, is replaced by another, Rafael Sobis, withdrawn also at half-time. Cvitanich. Erviti was tempted about the shot, but it was very, very quickly broken down. Rivero. Now Riquelme finds himself on the brink of a club milestone, which may come tonight, may come next week. The way football sometimes is, may not come at all. By Thiago Carletto, 23-year-old who's currently on loan from Sao Paulo, who missed out by one place on this season's Libertadores, but we'll see them in the Copa Sudamericana. Riquelme. It's not a bad idea. Mouche was the man at the end of it. Plenty of bodies between the number 10 and the number 7. But that was a wonderful cross-heel ball, which largely came out of nowhere down the left-hand side. There had been weakness late in the first half from Fluminense at that vantage point, but maybe not now. Thiago Carletto is in to shore things up. Means that Sean can go back to his natural position back upfield again, around halfway down the left-hand side, just inside. Here's Rivero. Riquelme combining yet again with Clemente Rodríguez. Good assurance from the left back. Riquelme. Erviti cuts inside the area, but the first touch was too strong, and Anderson will shield it. Wonderful, formidable arena, which has already seen a Fluminense victory this season. Boca returned the compliment towards the end of the group stages at the Encinao. He was a Fluminense player for 8 seasons, was Abel Braga. Evaded everybody in the middle, but not Wagner. Cross too strong, further claims in the middle which won't be entertained by Jose Butrago. Rafa looked to buy a penalty from Rolando Schiavi. Wagner. Good cut out by Bruno though. One of the many recent Figueirense departures and Fluminense rivals. Mouche trying to move things on down this near side, but very well cut out by Thiago Carletto, who has made an impact since his half-time arrival. Insaurralde trying an impact of his own. Cavalieri is being tested heavily, but he's passed everything so far. Well, Roncaglia was involved in a potential handball incident towards the end of the first half, which we had quite a few opportunities to watch from different angles at half-time. And he did put the arm up and he did keep it up. And then the ball just happened to hit it. At it, the more deliberate it becomes. Here's Rivero. Cvitanich for Mouche! And Boca have the goal that was coming. One title winner applauds, as does one joint record holder. Boca have the advantage, and you have to say that goal was well telegraphed. Super move. Mouche involved throughout, but most importantly at the end, he latched through. One finish, wonderful balance. Cvitanich with a supreme ball. Mouche eyes on it all the way, judged it to perfection, and Diego Cavalieri, after all his first half heroics, is finally beaten. Third goal of the campaign, but his first at home. A glorious finish, gets the decibel level higher. Well, he made his name known across Argentina by scoring a hat-trick in the South American Youth Championships 5 years ago now. Did that against Venezuela, and then on his senior debut, scored twice against Venezuela. Needless to say, they're somewhat sick of him by now. But what glorious vision. It was started by Rivero, And then look at this glorious ball by Cvitanich, who brought it on. Mouche, wonderful turn. Cavalieri hoodwinked as Mouche found the inside post on the far side. Is it RIP Fluminense now? Well, Carlos Tevez had words about his former manager on arriving in Buenos Aires yesterday. I presume he's going to spend most of the European summer, if not beyond. I'm sure someone somewhere will tell me if Carlos Tevez actually played enough league games to get a medal. Won the league anyway. Riquelme. Well, he tried to slip it inside towards Rodríguez, and Erviti slipped in also. Cavalieri will have some relief that it's a goal kick, but Boca now have an opportunity to finally turn it on, and they've done so in this fashion. He broke away, saw what was on, and he slipped in past Bruno and Goom, past Cavalieri, and having netted away to Arsenal de Sarandi, and away to Unión Española in Santiago last week. Pablo Mouche has his third goal of the campaign, and on the two previous occasions he netted, Boca won. Riquelme. Well, you might have expected it to have been his pass to unlock Fluminense, but instead it was a wonder ball by Dario Cvitanich, who had been allowed an awful lot of space right in the centre of the Fluminense half. And the man who came on at half-time due to a red card now receives a yellow. Pablo Mouche upended by Thiago Carletto. The home support finally with the goal they so craved. There's no more on the way. Cavalieri let that one go. Bruno back to clear. Victories over Botafogo to win the Carioca Championship, the state championship for the first time in 7 years. And now finally a break forward in the second half from Fluminense. Rafael Moura across, picked up by Wagner. He's down, it's a free kick, and it's a really good position in front of goal. Erviti was too rash in the tackle. And a simple upending of Wagner, who had the look of a dropped baby. Thiago Neves has form with these, which Agustin Orion probably has some knowledge of. Thiago Neves, the only hat-trick in the Libertadores final came from him, but will this free kick? The spotlight is on he. It's a large wall to navigate. Thiago Neves! Needed better accuracy. Managed to clear the wall, but cleared the goal too. Yet to score in this season's competition. If you happen not to be terribly acquainted with South American football, it's the start of the Brazilian Championship next weekend. The first few months of the calendar year taken up by the state championships all around the country. Fluminense won theirs. Open up with a tricky game away at Corinthians, the Brazilian champions, next weekend. And we'll have a home tie next in this. Blandi, Riquelme got a touch. But what will the situation be once we return to Brazil? Fluminense in danger of being ripped apart. Boca have had an awful lot of the ball in the final third. And they've had enough opportunities to have a healthy lead. Once or twice they've overplayed their moves. Wagner just managed to get that foot in before winning the free kick. Schiavi to the rescue after Roncaglia's misjudged touch. Mouche with the wonderful goal 6 minutes into the second half and looking to add to his creativity here. Sebastian Battaglia, currently on the long-term injured list, and for Boca without Ledesma, Somoza or Silva this evening, but hopeful that they won't be too long gone. Somewhat uneventful goalless draw against Vélez Sarsfield at the weekend, but very much eventful here thanks to Rodríguez, trying to get it in towards the middle, towards Riquelme once more. Touch on by Erviti. Some good touches in the game, but not enough so far. Given away by Thiago Neves. Well, there are times when teams play better with a man less, but you can't say that about the away side this evening. Are enjoying this, and it's going to be a long second half for Fluminense, who will now only really be pointing to do things on the break. And for a lot of this half, and since the sending off, their furthest man forward has been Thiago Neves. Rafael, the captain, has moved into a more central role. Had been up front alongside Rafael Sobies, but Sobies was withdrawn at half-time due to the sending off. Too strong by Blandi, the cross. But gaps emerging yet again in the middle. And now there are further changes needed by Abel Braga. And will they have to be defensive ones? Had a brief spell in France, did Abel Braga, in the very early days of Paris Saint-Germain in the first decade of their existence back in the 70s. It's only proper spell abroad as a player, but as a coach was at Al Jazeera before being tempted back by Fluminense last year. Thiago Cavalieri might have got a few league games had he stayed with one of his former clubs recently. But instead he might be facing Rodríguez coming forward. Riquelme. Cavalieri might have more work to do here. Surely he will do. It's a wonderful ball inside. Rodríguez and Riquelme combining so excellently yet again. It was wonderfully swift. And it's a continuing threat against the Brazilian defence. Got the touch on, and Neves has been brought down. It'll be a yellow card against Walter Erviti, and it's the second card against Boca in the tie to join Clemente Rodríguez in the book. Only been 3 debited against Fluminense. It fell so invitingly in the middle. Cavalieri was ready to pounce. Riquelme took his time, and the control in the turn by Blandi, but he just couldn't quite get the finish in. And that the rugby tackle by Walter Erviti. Argentina be competing in a newly extended version of the Tri-Nations Rugby in the coming weeks. Now this is a liable change on the way. Looked like it was Marcus Jr., but there was a 2 on the shorts. Marcus Jr. is in the Libertadores. Leicester's wearing 14. There's a 19-year-old Marcus Jr. On his birth certificate, it was recorded without the or. So some will refer to him as Marcus Jr. I would imagine he doesn't like that terribly much. So on he comes, Brazilian under-18 international. Marcus Jr. with 21 on his back. Rafa Moura has been withdrawn. Obviously Marcus Jr. and Matias Carvalho have swapped numbers, but that does tend to happen in this competition quite a bit. Roncaglia with the nod through. Strong clearance away by Bruno, which was very necessary. It's very much been the tale of the night for Fluminense. They've had the occasional foray forward, and they've been quite blessed to win free kicks on occasion when they've been up there, but there's nothing blessed about that challenge by Schiavi. Certainly weighed in on the new arrival. 5 appearances for Brazil under-18s for Marcus Jr. 2 goals. He's netted a couple of times this season in the Carioca. Thiago Carleto was tempted about the shot, but it was very quickly blocked down. Schiavi did his job well. Bruno waded back in again. Bruno again. It's a good combination between him and Marcus Jr. early on, causing some considerable difficulty. Now there is a Fluminense player down who I would take to be Bruno. And let's be honest, it's not the first time we've seen Bruno on the canvas. Schiavi was involved and stayed involved And he obviously landed on the left arm, I would imagine, of Bruno. That's what's receiving treatment, and he is in some pain. You can determine how accidental or not that was. Two changes already, and it would just make Fluminense's night if they had to use another with a quarter left of this first leg on an injury. So Bruno will battle through for now. Cvitanich, Rivero, Riquelme. Cvitanich had strayed forward on the edge of the area. It was a very astute ball towards this near side, as you might expect with the number 10 involved. Well, there's obvious discomfort for Bruno. This very much his big move. Figueirense before this, Juventud, Pedro Branca, Guarani. Sides that normally make the headlines, although the latterly mentioned club did face Santos in their state championship final, which saw them being roundly beaten 7-2 in aggregate in the Paulista decider. If you're watching in Africa or Australia, stay on this channel. You'll see Santos next, away, cross town in Vélez. If you're in Ireland, you'll have to change channels to the main Ireland channel, and if you're watching in the UK, and if you fancy staying up or getting up early, it's on at 6:30 in the morning delayed. NHL up next. Riquelme. It's easy cut out by Anderson. Very good work by Thiago Carletto. Has been very impressive since coming on, as has the other substitute, Marcos Jr. Rodríguez and Erviti making life difficult, and he's done well to win the corner kick. Well, he's only played 4 full senior games for Fluminense since coming into the first team, and in those he scored twice. There's a good gutsy look about him. Thiago Neves with the swing in. Edinho long, too long. Easy pickings for Agustin Orion, whose night has now turned out to be very, very quiet. Mouche, the goal scorer. One will do for now for Boca, but more would be useful. Jean got the touch. Good position for a free kick when you've got someone like Riquelme on your team. Thiago Carletto, most nonplussed. Don't think he's praying for forgiveness, though. Mouche, who's elected to take. Well-crowded area. Cavalieri's not pleased about the positioning of his defence, and there's every reason not to be. Schiavi was in, and Cavalieri pulled off a miracle save. Well, it was a real throwback to the 1980s, and Fluminense surely couldn't have got that defensive situation any more wrong than they did. And Schiavi will probably be the first to tell you he should have scored. In among the photographers yet again. Well, he's got 6 targets. Now what's happened in the middle here? Wagner's been booked. Chicanery on the line. Riquelme's floated it through. And the corner kick itself was much ado about nothing, but what preceded it was very, very good. Now, children, this is what football was like in the 80s. And for some reason, the flag didn't go up because Fluminense looked as if they had made an absolute hash of that. Actually, I suppose fair enough, because Schiavi wasn't one of those offside. Cavalieri kept it out anyway. It was very much a high-risk strategy, very, very high line by Fluminense. Moved the moment the ball was taken, and that a real throwback to the likes of the 1986 World Cup, when we used to see that a lot at free kicks. In by Mouche, Cvitanich. Anderson doing the policing. Cvitanich is a bear with a sore head right now, and the situation might just be escalating. He ended up on the deck, and it's what happened after he got up that sent things even higher, and there was a definite strike by Anderson. Cvitanich decked. Won the North American equivalent of this with Pachuca in Mexico 2 years ago, the CONCACAF Champions League. Mexican league decider is coming up later tonight, the first leg, Monterrey against Santos Laguna. If you're in Africa, that'll be coming up after tonight's Libertadores action. Mouche's floated that one in. It was inviting, but it was too long. Cvitanich found Mouche so well. He wasn't picked up. Very, very loose defending. And have Fluminense kiss their chances goodbye. They will be happy it's only 1-0. Situation is quickly arising that most of the action is now away from the ball. Marcus Jr., the latest man to be down. Still 12 minutes left and still primed for more cards to come. Or will there be any more goals? Cvitanich, good ball wide, Rodríguez is offside. I wonder if Wilmar Navarro gave that in sympathy for the previous decision. He was level. Way by Erviti. Thiago centred forward, but very easily mopped up by Roncaglia. Looked quite comfortable defensively this evening. Riquelme, lots of movement in front and alongside, but only he could see Pablo Mouche making a move right around the middle. Cvitanich on the follow-through. It's yet another corner for Boca. Well, if Fluminense escape Buenos Aires conceding just the one goal, they will have done exceptionally well. In by Riquelme, Cavalieri timed it well. Schiavi's tackle well timed. Across town later, around half an hour's time, the kick-off for Melhores against Santos. Wonder if Santos and Fluminense are flying back on the same flight. Would be an interesting one. Riquelme's taken up the story deep. Fluminense may be down 5 regulars and now down a 6th with Carlinhos being sent off. To 1-0 quite gamely. Hanging up by Erviti, and it is inviting, but it's a good claim by Cavalieri. And the fact he was being put under duress by Nicholas Blandi made it all the better. The Boca pressure in this tie with an extra man. Yet it's still only on the one goal. They've managed to score, and since the strike by Mouche, they've only really had one very good opportunity, which was Schiavi's strike from the floated in free kick where he was left on his own and Cavalieri managed to stop. Got a touch but not enough. It's Riquelme. Roncaglia took too long. It's another corner kick. A little less hesitation and he might just have been in for his first goal of the Libertadores this season. Mouche back among the crowds on this near side. Wasted this time though. Roncaglia stayed up. It was another super little move and it was almost perfect. And Roncaglia cut inside when he probably would have been best advised to shoot on sight. Bruno might have stopped the first attempt. But his chances of stopping the second were greatly improved as soon as Roncaglia turned inside. Defensive change for Fluminense. Thiago is going to come on, and Thiago Neves, quality playmaker, is being withdrawn. A look of patience, but maybe a look of frustration for Riquelme also. The scoreline. Thiago came up into the squad in 2009 when they reached the final of the Copa Sudamericana, and they were thwarted by the same club that beat them in the Libertadores final 18 months earlier in Liga de Quito. And just like that Libertadores final, it turned out to be the highest scoring Sudamericana final also. All of the first legs so far this week have been entertaining in their own way, but somewhat cagey too. Carletto and Wagner both down as a result of separate challenges. It's the second that was penalised. Is he trying to get his own retribution? It's ended up being a very difficult game for Jose Buitrago to take charge of, but he's kept the lid on it. He's done well. Doesn't bring an extra amount of heat when the sides meet again next Wednesday night, pre-midnight if you're watching in the UK, Ireland or Africa. Back of the engine out. Edinho, the stand-in captain, took too long, and now his name is in the book. Edinho. Thiago Carletto suddenly finds himself surrounded. Boca have had to draw quite a few men back. Wagner making his way up this left-hand side, and that'll be a goal kick. Well, it would have been some reward if Wagner had managed to win a corner kick there, but Buitrago totally disinterested. Cvitanich is being withdrawn now, and Sergio Araujo, the Argentine under-20 and under-23 international, though not playing in this summer's under-23 championship at the Olympic Games. Araujo is on and Cvitanich is off. 2 minutes of normal time remaining. The new arrival has a succession of intriguing nicknames. It's generated quite a bit of interest from Europe's leading lights. Marcus Jr. managed to get a touch onto it, but needed further support. Thiago has dug in. Riquelme to bring it out. as we enter the final minutes of normal time. Diego Rivero forward in a really good ball down this near side. Roncaglia. Diego Rivero tried to let fly and failed. Cavalieri beat it. It would have been a wonder finish. Riquelme pointing the way. And almost finished things off for once and for all. Pinball round. Riquelme had a pop. It was a very good try. Didn't seem to touch anything on the way, though. Cavalieri will be relieved that it wasn't stopped by the net. We'll have 3 added minutes at the end of the 90. Hasn't been a single Fluminense opportunity in the second half. Maybe there will be now. They've won a corner kick. Great tenacity from Marcos Jr. Well, there's still hope, somehow, as we go into extra minutes. Marcos Jr. swung it in direct. Orion thought about coming and then decided against. Thiago got the touch. And it's a goal kick for Boca Juniors. Without doubt, the red card changed the course of the game, because Fluminense had been quite open before that. They've barely had an opportunity since then. I imagine the big surprise is that the scoreline isn't greater, with the amount of dominance that the home side have extended in this tie. Diego Rivero now. Mouche in space down the right-hand side, and he has meant to aim for in the middle, but the turn was too slight. And Cavalieri will strike it off Rivero. It was inviting from Blandi, but he couldn't get a proper turn and finish on it. Well, Martin Palermo's joint record with one Roman Riquelme, 23 Copa Libertadores goals each. And his record remains intact for now, but sooner rather than later it will go. Riquelme having netted 3 times in the competition so far this season. Given away by Schiavi. Marcos Jr. held it up. And Wagner had the strike. It's gone out for a throw, and there may yet still be a sting in the tail of this one. Well, for a long time it looked not a case of if, but how many for Boca. But life's being made uncomfortable right at the end for them. That was handball. But Boca have the free kick anyway. Anderson's pulled back from behind, deemed to be a worse offence. On by Riquelme. Rivero. Well, we've been playing to a bigger audience than usual, and I hope you've enjoyed the game. Boca have, but maybe not enough. Riquelme pulled the strings, but Pablo Mouche got the goal 6 minutes into the second half. Wonderfully set up by an excellent through ball by Dario Cvitanich. They'll be pleased, but the job has to be finished in Rio next Wednesday night. Fluminense will be without Carlinhos for that tie after being sent off late in the first half, somewhat needlessly. A second yellow card for handball. Julio Cesar Falcione has a win. No smiles from him tonight. Not usually ever. Abel Braga may feel that the tie went away from his side tonight with the red card, but Carlinhos on a yellow. Handled to push the ball away and was sent off, and then a handball by Roncaglia wasn't given. Lots of opportunities for Boca, but just the one goal from Mouche. And heading into the second leg next week, it's Boca Juniors 1, Fluminense 0.